COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Meet Erica Von Stein. She is a freelance TV producer from Glasgow with a background in fashion photography. In TV, she oversees productions and behind-the-scenes arrangements. She is specialized in producing and writing questions for quiz shows. I met up with her to talk about how the lockdown in the UK affected her work.
The show that I was working on was a really fun show, which entailed school children going up against their teachers in a quiz. And the teachers would be asked sort of pop culture questions, and the school kids would be asked more academic questions to see who can sort of outdo who. And as soon as the schools were closed, that basically flushed our production down the drain, because we can't take children out of school if they're not in school, if that makes sense. So when the school shut right away, we couldn't cast school children anymore. That was obsolete. And I was working on the questions sector of the show for the pre-production stage. And we continued for about 3 weeks and making up questions and various rounds and challenges, etc. But we could only take the production so far. And then afterwards, the casting team weren't able to bring in any of the school children. We weren't able to get in studio just because the crew and the audience, so many people would go against social distancing. I think the studio itself would probably close. So they had no choice but to close the production down.
You're through. You're looking at type major massive. We want nothing the mule.
The television industry is something that isn't really affected by anything. It's indestructible because everyone watches TV. It never goes away. People always need entertainment. They always need news. Even to this day, the news is still what we are relying on for information. We need our televisions. So I didn't think that the TV industry was going to be hit so hard by the coronavirus.
What consequences do you see currently on your workflow and also people from the industry in general?
The major problem with working in television, there's certain ways of being employed in television. So you get short PAYE contracts. We are called freelance, but we're not freelance in the sense that we're self-employed. We're just freelance as in we hop from contract to contract. So unfortunately, myself and many others like me have fallen through the cracks of the government's income support helping scheme. And there's just not been any funding or support available to us.
I say this, you have not been forgotten. We will not let you behind. We all stand together.
The government announced that they were going to provide financial support. So anyone who's currently on a PAYE contract is being furloughed. So they'll get 80% of their wages up to £2,500, which in theory is great. That would be fantastic if it covered everyone. But due to the government guidelines, you had to be on the payroll up until the 28th of February. So that there was like a cut-off date somewhere. And anyone who hadn't started their contract yet, so for example, I started my contract on the 16th of March, so I just missed that date. I wasn't on the payroll then, so I don't qualify for the furlough scheme. And on the back of that, which also creates a further problem, is because all of the productions that were scheduled for studio have all been pulled. When we try and pick the production back up, there's going to be this influx of people trying to use studios, so people aren't going to be able to book in for a long time and get their productions back up and running. People are going to be struggling to get work, because if everyone's out of work, when one job now comes up, the whole of the industry is applying for it. So the sort of balance and the equilibrium's really been disturbed here. And I think it's going to be a long time before the film and TV industry recovers, because it's going to be a lot of effort to pick it all back up and to try and reschedule, because organising a huge scale production is really hard. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of people go into it, and it's not as simple. it's like a domino effect of problems essentially. So I don't really know where the industry is going to be when we come out of this on the other end, to the point where myself and I know other people have actually been looking at alternative career paths. Like, should I go and work in a supermarket? Genuinely throw my degree and my 10 years experience out the window, because I genuinely think, is there going to be a job for me afterwards? Are people going to need producers? Are there going to be shows? A lot of indie sort of art house indie companies, production companies are shutting down. They're not even able to continue. So who knows? It's a very uncertain time for the creative industry.
It's very uncertain. So even though we have these challenging times, we have also more time to think. For example, I found myself also just shooting short films on my balcony.
Yeah, so, anything to keep your brain stimulated, totally.
Exactly. And so I was wondering, like, do you see any positive moments during this pandemic?
It's hard to say the word positive, because there's just been so many deaths and so many tragedies that I almost feel guilty saying, oh, the positive is I've written this book. It feels almost a little bit wrong, but if you just look on the bright side and try and make the most of a really tragic situation, there's time to sort of reflect and time to work on personal development for sure. I know that one of the sort of areas of my job in television is developing new shows, and I've been working a lot on that. And I've been sort of writing ideas for new things and developing treatments and pitching documents and things like that. So it is good to sort of have all that information almost pre-packaged, so that whenever in the future the industry does pick back up, there's going to be a surge of all these new sort of creative ideas and new projects floating around. So I do think there is a positive, and it's nice for people to relax.
How do you see the future of film and television in post-corona?
It's definitely shaped and altered the way we look at content creation in general. Even if you look at calls for content creation now, people are making interactive game shows from home. I've seen a lot of people creating a lot of cool stuff and really maximising the time that they've had. So I'm actually excited to see what comes out of it eventually.